You can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
Grab a seat, pour yourselves some whiskey neat. It's time to judge the shit out of these future releases by the movie trailers. We're trailer hits. This movie might totally suck, but the whiskey sure is going down fine. Yeah, we're trailer hits.
Well, welcome to the bonus trailer hitch episode.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm James.
I'm Kevin.
Well done. Of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
And
we'll be talking about that.
We'll be talking about it. We'll be talking about our reactions to the trailer.
Yes.
And the movie in general. We don't have our normal whiskey, as the theme song suggested. We have hot toddies today.
We do. Well, there's whiskey and toddies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's whiskey in here. Cheers.
Yes.
But it is December, and I'm feeling very cozy with these hot toddies.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Now, we should probably start talking about Star Wars. And I just wanted to say that Kevin and I are definitely both on the same page with this movie. And okay, I'm not entirely sure about that, but we've both seen it 3 times. So
I have seen it
once.
If we want to get technical, yes.
Okay. So I was wrong about those 2 things. Well, I've seen it 3 times, and you have not. Therefore, at least we know that going into this, my points are more valid than yours throughout the whole.
About that.
No. Okay.
Nah.
Okay. Well, this will be fun.
This is
struck out completely.
I would say if you have to watch a movie 3 times in order for it to completely make sense, I don't know. Maybe that's.
Oh no! I'm not saying it didn't make sense for me the first time. I'm saying that your points are less valid than mine.
Oh, sure.
That's how that works.
Sure.
Right or wrong.
Well, hey.
Be honest, right?
Well, I mean, I'm going to look at you and just, test your Star Wars knowledge right now.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Okay, so in Attack of the Clones, Episode 2, the last monster that gets killed, because it's the 3 monsters that comes out to attack them. What is that last monster called?
That's a great question that I'm bummed to say I don't remember which one dies last.
Hey, James.
But I do know the names of all 3 of them.
You do know the net? Well, that's what I'm asking.
The cat-looking, the bobcat-looking thing, that's a Nexu.
Okay.
The praying mantis-looking thing, that's an Acklay.
Sure.
And the rhinoceros-looking thing is a Reek. Are you wearing an Acklay t-shirt? Is that why you unzipped your jacket?
No, it's just because I'm a little warm. I'm getting hot and bothered with my hot and toddy.
Okay.
The last one that dies is called the Verdactyl. And if you don't know that kind of throws some some questions about your Star Wars knowledge.
Verdactyl's not in Attack of the Clones. You're thinking of Revenge of the Sith, but I'm glad you brought it up here.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay, you can duck season, web season all you want. I do know that 100%. It's what Obi-Wan Kenobi rides when he's chasing down General Grievous on which planet, Kevin? Which planet?
No,
I tested you on this one.
I know
tested
this
you.
one.
You know it.
Krakow.
Oh, you're so close. Utapau. Yeah, it's like ooh, tapow.
I'm just because you and I rewatched the prequels together, and then we
did.
rewatched The Last Jedi.
Thank you for sitting through those with me. I really appreciate it.
It
was fun for me. So
it was an absolute blast. All right, so the Verdactyl is you know what, you're 100% right.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm 100% right. That's okay. I'm glad.
I was trying. Man,
this back and forth was really enlightening for me.
Did I even fucking
bother? Because you were excited. You remembered the name.
I was
very
excited.
I am super proud of you that you remembered that name.
Thanks, man.
Because I did.
And I tried to use that knowledge to hamper you.
Get me?
To hamper you.
Gotcha.
Which I feel like is the most Star Wars nerd thing one can do. So, God, what have I become?
Look, we'll get to what you've become while we review this movie, I think, right?
Yeah, all right. So, regardless of how our opinions stack up, let's just get into it. We'll see what we both think.
Absolutely.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
Long have I waited. And now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir, at my friends.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. The Force will be with you.
Always.
All right, we're going to yada yada this a bit, just given that, there's a lot to cover when it comes to Rise of Skywalker, both in the marketing and in the film itself.
That's absolutely.
And so this is Trailer Hitch. Rewrite and review things on a scale of need to see more, or never need to see. We both gave Rise of Skywalker need to sees. We saw the movie. We are now reporting back to you guys. First, James,
yes.
What did you think of the trailers for this? Do you think that this set us up properly for what we were going to get with Rise of Skywalker?
After seeing the movie?
Yes.
Okay. I think they did a good job of sticking with keeping things vague for us. They kind of followed the Avengers Endgame model.
Maybe not quite as intensely as Endgame.
Because
Endgame, again, it felt like a TV show's previously on, plus here's stuff from the first 20 minutes of the movie. That's all you're getting. Have fun. We know you're going to come.
Exactly. And I wanted this to be very similar to that. And it was. I think Endgame held their cards closer to their vest than this did.
Absolutely.
But I still appreciated how much I was left in the dark of where things were going with this.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing was bringing Palpatine back.
Absolutely.
That was such a huge thing to put in that teaser.
It was massive. And by the end of the third trailer, we didn't get any more than that.
Right.
From the first teaser.
Yeah, I was.
Is what I'm talking about in terms of keeping things as vague as the first teaser.
Having rewatched that final trailer again. Yeah, you just get an over-the-shoulder of Palpatine. You never
get that hood.
Yes, you got the little hood.
Yeah.
You sit in his old chair. We killed Snoke off. We needed some other old motherfucker in a chair, and that's who we got with Palpatine this time. But yeah, you don't directly see him.
Yeah,
which I think was a really interesting choice for the trailers. Now, when it comes to the movie itself and how it sets me up, weirdly enough, I'm really happy that they told us that Palpatine is in the trailers, because his setup in the movie itself is kind of rushed through. So they were more or less like, we kind of have to give you Palpatine in the trailer so that way you can get that big oh shit moment.
Yes.
Because obviously we will talk about it more in depth once we get to the movie review. But he's introduced in the opening crawl in the movie. And I think in order to give us that big oh shit moment, we kind of needed him in the marketing for this.
So I thought that this sold this movie really well. Not the best example of, holy crap, I wouldn't have changed a thing in the marketing. But I thought it was good enough where it wasn't like a swing and miss, like, say, Little Monsters with Lupita Nyong'o. Like, if that's the other
straight
side,
up lie.
if that's the other side of the spectrum, it's way far away from that.
And I'm curious, just because you said, there would be things I'd change. What would those things be?
To be honest, Kevin, I was not prepared for a follow-up question.
You weren't prepared for some journalistic integrity, goddammit?
No, I was not. So I apologize on behalf of that. I don't know. I guess I'd have to think about it some more.
Sure.
And maybe watch the movie a fourth time. And then I could definitely tell you what I would do differently in the trailers. Which is interesting,
because having only seen the movie the one time, which of course means my opinion is invalidated.
Of course. We've already covered that.
I wouldn't really change too much about the marketing here. Again, that final trailer got me so excited for what I was about to see. I think it hit the right notes, both in the literal sense and that the score in the trailer is so bombastic and
it builds
so effectively. We get those first swelling notes when we see Rey hugging Leia, which was such an impactful way to pay respects to Carrie Fisher and to her contributions to the Star Wars universe. It definitely gets the excitement and the energy. We see all of our characters together. I would think if this missells anything, it gives you the impression that the three seem to actually like each other. I'll get into it once we get into the review, but
Okay.
Does it sell me on the movie? I mean, I am a Star Wars agnostic more than you. I'm not an every Sunday sort of.
Well, no, but you've enjoyed
Star Wars,
you've
but
enjoyed yourself while watching these
I've-
movies.
Since the prequels, I have seen all 6 of these movies on opening night, in a packed house, and have been eager and excited to do so.
Yeah.
And so I am a fan. I clearly don't know what movie the Verdactyl is in, but I can tell you one exists within that universe, but I can't talk more
and
about...
the right trilogy, too, the prequels.
But you're right. I didn't hit the bullseye, but maybe I got in that green circle around the bullseye. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I am a fan. I feel like I talk more about, like, character choices. The lore itself might not be as big of a deal to me because I like The Last Jedi, and apparently that precludes me from saying I like the lore.
Not at all, and we'll talk about that, but
yeah.
I don't subscribe to that, so...
I appreciate that, and that's why I like you, the Star Wars fan.
That's why...
Versus the people who are like, The Last Jedi ruined everything.
That's why we don't bully each other off of social media.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
Cool. This would be a very uncomfortable podcast if we were both that way.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be sitting here if that was the case. So I mean,
it sold the movie well for you.
It absolutely sold the movie well for me.
Great.
And now we have to talk about the movie itself.
Yes.
We have to get into it.
So overall, before we get into spoilers, let's just do a general...
This is where we're at.
Thumbs up or thumbs down or middle of the road, what have you. And then big spoiler warnings. I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you've seen the movie. I hope so.
Or you don't care about the spoilers.
But I do want to do our due diligence. So, would you recommend this movie to someone? Would you recommend this movie to yourself?
Sure,
if you could go back in time, you know?
I saw this the once I saw it with you opening night. We're recording this a couple of days after that. I'm personally pretty glad that I got the couple of days to think about it because it is such a quickly paced movie. A lot happens. A lot is covered in mile-a-minute sort of territory. If you asked me directly after the screening, I would actively have a hard time figuring out if this was my least favorite Star Wars or if it was Attack of the Clones.
Interesting.
I strongly disliked it when I walked out of the theater.
Okay.
And then I thought about it more. Things that seemed dashed off to me in retrospect, I realized, I understand what they were going for here. I understand roughabouts, like, okay, like this is what the intent was. Do I think it quite got there? No, not necessarily. But I at least know that they were making, like, solid creative choices. Like, when it gets down to this is what we were trying to get at from, like, a character or thematic standpoint. Okay, I get it. Like
these weren't lazy decisions.
No,
you could tell they put thought and time into making them.
Yeah.
Maybe they were hard decisions to make for them, but they had to make them anyway.
Potentially, yeah. But at the very least, it's still easily my least favorite of the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
Now that, like, I've had a little bit more time to kind of, like, come down, I guess, it's not worse than Attack of the Clones. Like, that might be a bit harsh. That might be a bit harsh.
But
so
I'm glad you rewatched the prequel trilogy with me so recently, though, to have them fresh in your mind.
Yeah. No, and weirdly enough, unfortunately, I missed the original trilogy rewatch with you.
With me, I know. I needed.
I'm not giving you shit. I'm just.
You should.
I put the onus on me. And now after, like, some time to think about it, it's like, I don't know, at least Chewie made me happy in the fucking Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if... So, very long way to say overall, between the two, I would say I'm not as happy with this movie, but I'm not reviled by it.
Sure. Okay, great.
But how about you? I'm very curious. After your third watch, you're wearing a Join the Resistance t-shirt. Your fandom is well known.
Yeah. Well documented.
Well documented. Very well documented, yes.
So
we have tapes.
We saw this opening night.
Yes.
After my first watch, I did have many things that I'm like, there were aspects of it that I was in your camp with of, I don't know if I would have gone that direction, or maybe not so much that direction, but I don't know if I would have gone that direction in that speed.
Sure.
So we were talking about the pace a lot, especially with the first 40 minutes of the movie. But at the end of the movie, there were more things in it that swelled me with excitement and childlike wonder that I couldn't help but just be amazingly happily satisfied with it.
Okay.
Is it my favorite in the sequel trilogy? Even after 3 watches? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd like to keep thinking about it some more. Because, yes, I've seen it more times than you, but I've had the same amount of time to think about it that you have had.
Sure.
So it's interesting to me that I still can't quite place it in terms of ranking it. But
and you're also coming down from a massive, massive high of. This is the end of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, I was buzzing, man, for the past 2 days, and this is the least adrenaline I've had in the past 3 days right now, and I'm still shaky.
Sure.
And I'm trying to calm down with this hot toddy. It's not doing its job. But again, long story short.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend this movie to any Star Wars fan to definitely see it for yourself and experience it in a theater. You gotta experience this guy in a theater, I think, with a crowd. I think that's fun, and at the very least, you'll soak up some of that excitement.
Sure.
Even if watching it on your own, you might not have with certain scenes. So I would highly recommend it. So having said that, I think it's time for us to really dive in. We'll be talking about spoilers.
Yeah.
Leave now if you haven't seen it yet. Otherwise, let's do this, Kevin.
All right.
So I think the best way to probably do this is have you start talking about things and have me either yell at you or...
This is basically Frost Nixon.
You start talking and I will be the guy.
Me interrogating you and you being like, when Star Wars does it, it's not illegal. Yeah, absolutely, man. Whoa, absolutely.
I'm so happy you said that. You know what? Let's get that out of the way right away. That generalization. You're not wrong. And I am aware of the hypocrisy in that. But for me, anyway, when it comes to Star Wars,
it's near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, and I can't.
So, dude, trust me, Tom Waits has made songs that aren't great, but I'm still yeah, but I like it. Yeah. This means something to me. I get it.
I can be a film critic.
Sure.
You've heard me do it.
Oh, God,
We've talked about movies. And
you were definitely a film critic when we were watching the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can be when I want to be.
Yeah.
When it comes to Star Wars, though, I decide right at the crawl.
This is my inner childhood. God damn it! I'm gonna love this.
To shut my experience of film and the industry off and just watch it as a kid. Yeah. And I succeed every time.
That's great.
So I really wish people could enjoy it as much as me. And I know that's not always the case, and that's okay too. But then that leads to fun conversations. So yes, when Star Wars does it, for me, it's not illegal.
Sure.
Having said that, let's dive into it, Kevin.
Okay, so I guess what I'll do is just go through my criticisms of the movie first, and then we can cap it on the stuff that I really loved.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's not do the sandwich thing. Let's front half this, front load it with bad stuff.
We'll front load this.
I think that's the way to go to keep me sane.
Okay, cool. So for me, I alluded to it when we were talking about the trailers and the marketing for this.
Okay.
The first moment I felt like I was in trouble was when they introduced Palpatine in the opening crawl. Because that character is the big bad in the entire saga.
Yep.
Yeah, from prequels through the original trilogy, and now we're making him the big bad in the sequel trilogy too. He's been presumed dead for the
30 years.
Yeah,
roughly.
Yeah, and to have him be alive in of itself, again, I'm fine with, because he's the big bad of
thematically. The saga. Works.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. But I think he needed a far, far stronger introduction than by the way, in the opening crawl. That definitely put a weird taste in my mouth just walking into the movie. I like Kylo Ren fighting in a forest.
Like the opening
scene?
scene?
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then when it cuts wide and it's like, oh, he killed like 80 people. Like, all right, I'm for it. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And he was finding a MacGuffin, which I'm kind of like, all right. Like, the plot is definitely very...
MacGuffin heavy.
Yeah, we found this thing that tells us where to go here. It basically makes the universe in a big-ass escape room or a scavenger hunt.
I'm sorry, that just makes me like it even more.
Which is fine. Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I mean, like, if
the
I got
idea of doing that escape room sounds really fun to me.
I would honestly do it. I just don't know if I want to watch other people do it.
That's a really fair point. People made the same criticism where it's like a video game. Mm-hmm. It's fun when you're the one doing it, but if you're watching it, it's less fun. I will respond to the crawl if you're going to move on from the crawl.
Please. Hit me with the crawl.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The very first time I sat down Thursday night, that first sentence made me go, "Oh, okay, we're just diving right in here." Yeah. And I was expecting to build up to it, even a little bit. The fact that they found this out in between movies seems frustrating to not really experience people knowing that realization like we got to get that realization from a teaser. When we reacted to Palpatine being back in the teaser, I wanted to see our heroes react that way, have a reaction. And we didn't because it was just like, hey, he's back. It happened a while ago. We need to catch you up.
Well, and his reintroduction to our core trio and to the Resistance writ large is really perfunctory. They're like, all right, guys, just a heads up. Palpatine's back. He's going to blow up every single good planet in like, what was it, like 16 hours, 16 days?
I don't know the time they put on it.
I know 16 was said.
Okay.
And everyone's just kind of like, oh, word, that's bad. We should do something about
well,
that.
because he phrases it like, our deepest nightmares have been real. Like, we were right. So it's like, it's been on everyone's minds already.
Yeah.
And now we got the confirmation.
Yeah.
So we didn't get that first, like, what?
Right.
Like, how?
Oh, it'd be so cool
possible?
if someone sat back and went, no fucking way, man.
Like, I'm not the type of, because there's a lot of Star Wars fans out there right now upset that they don't get how.
Yeah.
How did he survive Return of the Jedi? And I honestly don't really need it. I wanted the characters to ask how, though.
Yeah.
And I guess they did, but like Dominic Monaghan or whatever from Lost,
Charlie.
He was just like clones or something, dark magic. That was enough for those characters, and I wanted those characters to be like react to it more.
Yeah.
I guess I don't need a reason. I believe dark magic was involved. Of course it was. And I can explain away things. I'm really good at making excuses for plot holes in Star Wars.
Sure.
It's a hobby of mine. I enjoy it. And people get frustrated with me because it's like, no, it should be in the movie then. You're using your imagination too much. You're right. If I was looking at this as a film critic, but I'm not. I'm looking at this as a fan of the narrative.
Sure.
So I like coming up with those things. I agree with you. That was jarring as F.
Yeah.
To walk into that opening crawl. So
and
I was in the same boat as you with the opening crawl.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, okay, all right, then I guess get on board or be upset now.
Right.
And I got on board, but it was hard. It was hard, but I got on board.
This is also way smaller, but as long as we're on their opening crawl, the dead speak might be the silliest first sentence. Just because
I loved it.
At least with war, I know where I stand.
War, yeah.
But with the dead speak, I'm like, to fucking whom? And then we're just in it.
I loved it. I thought it was cheesy, but I did like it a lot.
All right, so my next thing is a super small and obnoxious detail, and maybe you will be able to
explain it away with my own imagination.
All right,
you betcha I probably can.
So we got Palpatine back. We finally see him. All right, cool. Like he's back. At least I see him. I have the visual confirmation.
Did you like the visual look of him?
Yeah. I was pretty
great.
All right with that. Yeah.
Really scary looking.
Where it's like we don't necessarily know how he got out of the fucking 90,000-foot drop that in Return of the Jedi.
That he also seemingly exploded at the bottom of.
Yeah. But I looked at him and went, well, yeah, if you were still alive after that, that's probably how you'd look. You would look pretty fucking mangy.
Yeah, and can't even walk. You're hooked up to all this crap. Yeah,
Definitely.
totally.
Next, we get a rip-roaring sequence with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Now, I have absolutely no problem with, and they use a specific terminology, but when we go light speed for half a second and then drop to
I think he
normal
said
speed.
light speed skipping or
hyperspace skipping.
Something
Skipping was definitely
yeah.
in there. That in of itself, I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of neat. And
We've
like,
never seen that before.
We've never seen that before, and I think that further establishes Poe as a pilot, and he still is the risk taker who we've been following this series. But at least after the events of Episode 8, we know that he wouldn't be taking these risks unless it was explicitly necessary. So even if I don't have full context for what's going on, I know that if he's willing to do this shit, what is happening is super important.
Well, and he even says, like, at the end of that, like, okay, last jump, maybe forever.
Yeah.
Like, so I got the stakes there. So what is your...
So my thing, it's like right near the beginning of that chase, they're in...
It's like an ice asteroid
looking
thing, yeah?
And I saw the Millennium Falcon Tokyo Drift. And then when we're light speed skipping, that Millennium Falcon, the best way I can describe how it moves is it's like an agile germaphobe on a packed dance floor. It is like just whatever the fuck it needs to be able to do in order to get out of the obstacles in front of it, it does. And I was watching this, and part of the charm for me about the original trilogy and the series in general is how clunky and weighty the ships are in, like, the space combat.
Yeah.
Because, like, even when you get, like, those pretty big aerial combat sequences...
Like the end of the movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean for, like, in the other movies. So, like, the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. You know, Stay on Target and A New Hope. Like, those ships, you feel like the weight of the move. And maybe that's just because George Lucas fucking loves him some planes, and so he injected some, realism is a weird word to throw into Star Wars. I really like the fact that their ships are as clunky and weighty as they are, because that does, in a way, kind of heighten the stakes visually of... we have to take on an entire empire, and we got to do it with this goddamn jalopy behind us.
I think that's a good point. I don't have a way to explain that away. I think you're right. It's not something that bothered me. Mm-hmm. But having you now bring it up to me, he could have hit some more things. I think
he could have hit some more
especially
things. Especially again, it's more or less just like I need to feel the weight of as big and honking of a ship as the Falcon make those turns. And right now, it played more like kid playing with toy, like boop, 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 boop.
Which was exciting. But if the point at the end of that trip is the Falcon's on fire, it's all on fire, everything, maybe show us him hitting more stuff and being less agile with it. I think that's a great point. No, I have no explanation away for that one.
Yeah, and again, like that's an obnoxiously small detail, but there was this thing where I was looking at it and I'm like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars right now. This feels like J.J. Abrams directing a Star Trek movie.
Okay.
And that's not what I want.
Sure.
But okay, whatever. We keep going. I think the only thing I'm still, like, hot and bothered about, I'm really upset with how they used Carrie Fisher and Leia in this.
Okay.
Because they had to recycle a lot of B-roll in order to have her be a part of this movie.
Yeah.
It felt like they were playing Mad Libs with her. It felt like they were writing the scene around the limited reactions they had. And it further irritated me because, like, I wasn't thrilled with what they did with Peter Cushing with Rogue One and with Rise of Skywalker. I was, like, actively mad in the theater. I was watching it and all I could think was they're using Carrie Fisher like Kevin McAllister uses a talk boy to order a fucking hotel room. And I am not okay with that.
Sure.
Because my impression that I got from the trailer, because we see Carrie Fisher and Rey embracing, I looked at that and thought, that's how they're going to do it. Is like there's going to be like maybe a scene, maybe two with Carrie Fisher, and it is more or less a way for the Star Wars series to say goodbye to her. I would have had zero problem with that. And I feel like that would absolutely be earned, not just creatively, but for us as fans.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were using her just to advance their fucking MacGuffin-heavy plot, I was irate.
Okay. I wasn't. I wasn't mad, obviously, at any of it, but the first watch, it did stand out to me. And I knew it would. I knew, knowing how they included her in this movie, I knew I would be subconsciously looking for the seams. And that sucks. Like, I don't want to go into this movie knowing how they did it, so now I'm going to be subconsciously looking for that. And it's there. It is. Like, you're right. They wrote scenes around what they had.
Yeah.
That's all they could do. I will say the second and third time I watched it, it bothered me less because I was focusing on just what Ray was saying. Or I was focusing on just what Rose or Snap Wexley was saying. Sure. And when you're focusing on them, it's more tolerable, I think. And then we're going to be jumping around a lot, but
we're going to be hyperspace skipping.
Yeah, because we're talking about Leia, I figured we'd just jump to her final scene. Leia dies in this movie.
Yes.
How do you feel about them handling that? How they did it.
I really like that she dies and her last attempt is her connecting to her son.
Yeah.
I think that's very cool. And we'll get into the stuff that I like, I promise. But my very first note was the sequence where Rey and Kylo Ren are fighting at Noah's Ark is great. Like, that was the first time and in the theater, I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this now. I'm into this. And that includes Leia passing. Now, the fact that they just keep Leia's corpse there for a while is kind of strange to me. And
I like to think, and now, again, this is me explaining things away. I like to think she wasn't quite able to exit the way like Luke was able to yet, because she was still attached to Ben in that moment. And when Ben finally dies at the end of the movie, and he and her both disappear at the same time, it's because she was physically with him and nowhere else. Whereas Luke and all these other Jedi that have passed on, they're in the Force. They're in the ether. She just transferred just to Ben, I think. And as long as Ben was still alive, her corporal form was still there.
Yeah.
And I like to think that when he died, they both were able to ascend together.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect. But did you like this, how she was all in silhouette? Because, again, it's all...
Oh, yeah, no, like...
It's all supposed to be hiding the fact that she's not here.
I was about to say, I was distracted by the fact that it was definitely a double. The hand falling, all of that stuff. Like, I was, on my first watch, definitely distracted by, okay, that's her double.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, when we get to the tasteful stuff, I really like her standing with Luke at the end on Tatooine. That is... Because, like, if you're going to do this at all, and I have a lot of moral quandaries with this, I feel like literally saying her spirit is with Rey, it's with the last Skywalker, is awesome. That really does hit me. And here's what I want to ask you, man, because I'm watching Leia and Carrie Fisher basically responding with, like, one sentence, very vague, nondescript answers to things, asking one-word questions, and I just didn't feel Leia. I felt like we are cutting together discarded B-roll. Yeah. And because I haven't watched the original trilogy in a little while, does that feel like Leia to you?
I think it actually matches her performance with The Force Awakens a lot more than it does her Last Jedi. She is great in The Last Jedi. She's great in it.
Yeah.
And
you're demoted.
Yeah, I think
awesome.
I think The Force Awakens, she had not acted in a while, or the acting she does is very...
It gets cameo.
Little.
Yeah. She's in like an episode of 30 Rock.
The Force Awakens was, I feel like, the first time she was playing a character, like a substantial amount of the story, and I thought it was pretty guarded and not very animated. And if they're using primary B-roll from that performance and from that state of mind she was in before she got to The Last Jedi, that's going to match. And I think it felt like Leia, but it felt like Force Awakens Leia, not like The Last Jedi Leia, which was the last Leia we saw.
Sure.
So in a long way, I'm saying yes and no.
Kinda.
Yeah. Kinda.
Kinda. Okay. Sure.
It didn't feel like
and
it
like
to
that's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
And I appreciate hearing that.
When she's with Han, I think she's the best in Force Awakens. Those are her best scenes when she's with Harrison Ford.
Okay.
All right, what else you got?
Okay,
Let's keep it going.
All right,
just like the pace of the movie. Should we talk about the pace of the movie?
Oh yeah, I didn't even write that down, but yeah, definitely like the first hour.
It is relentless.
It's relentless, and that's not what Star Wars feels like.
Yeah,
again.
it's especially if you look at, say, A New Hope, which is my favorite Star Wars movie. We stay with these two droids in the desert for so long, and I love every dry second of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this movie, and granted, Force Awakens also goes at a clip, but this movie takes it to a whole other level of just get on board. And by the time we do get to the Death Star, the first time I watched it, I agree with you. Once we got to the Death Star or the Endor system in general, I was feeling more like we've arrived. From that point until the rest of the movie, I felt like, okay, that was all rushing so we could get to this point.
Yes.
And it felt that way. The more times I watch the movie, the more okay I am with certain aspects of the first 40 minutes. But the pace is still something you can't avoid. Like, even if you like little things in that, it happens because the pace is so quick. And it's hard because it doesn't feel Star Wars-y, that pace.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to accept it. But honestly, and we can talk about this more in broad strokes later, but I don't feel this movie would have been so rushed in the first 40 minutes if The Last Jedi, or the middle chapter of this trilogy, was in the same cohesive hands of J.J. Abrams.
And
we don't have to harp on that drum for a lot. We should focus more on this movie, but it should be brought up a little bit.
And and bear in mind
the trilogy as a whole.
I can understand that, but at the same time, think about it like improv, where you start a scene and someone zigs. So it's like you have J.J. Abrams, he zigs with Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And then Rian Johnson comes in and zags.
Yeah.
And so like now I'm kind of like changing the scene up a little bit. I'm kind of like adding another couple of layers to it by basically saying like, hey, it's not about like desperately clutching the past. You can respect the past, but you have to kind of like keep up with shit too. Like you have to find your own path. So it's like we zig, we zag, and then it feels like J.J. Abrams is coming back into the scene to go, well, no, you should be able to clutch onto the past. And for me, no, that's on the first guy that's like not following the scene. And like if you can't keep the cohesion of your own trilogy. So like bear in mind, I'm completely fine with the sequel trilogy not bringing up midichlorians once. That is A-okay by me.
I definitely thought this one was going to, which is why I paused during Revenge of the Sith to make you listen to that speech at the opera with Palpatine and Anakin. I'm like, this might play into Rise of Skywalker.
Sure. Well, and it'll come up, but it did play into that scene with it did play into the sequel trilogy, but not in the midichlorian sense. And bear in mind, I'm like, I can even come up with a canon excuse for that. It's because all of the people that really gave a shit about midichlorians, they're all dead. Why? Luke is never told about midichlorians, so why would he be like, well, hang on, I have like a Dragon Ball Z-esque eye patch that tells me you're over 9,000, Ray. Like, no, it wouldn't come up. Yeah. Like, there's a reason why it wouldn't. But I feel like if you can't keep the cohesion in between this trilogy, yikes.
Yeah.
Like, it leads to a lot of whiplash, and it leads to a lot of backtracking.
Whiplash is a really good way to do it. And a lot of people were like, well, JJ needed to correct all the wrongs in The Last Jedi. And like I said, I don't subscribe to that. I don't dislike anything in The Last Jedi. But it's impossible to ignore that Rian Johnson took it in a different direction.
He did.
Without worrying about where it was going to go after he was done. I think that is
for what it's
clear.
Worth, did they know where it was going even?
I think JJ wrote a treatment for this entire trilogy, and Rian Johnson respectfully was like, I'm going to take this in a different direction. And then Colin Trevorrow was going to come on and play telephone. And that's how it was going to go. But once I think Rian Johnson took it in the direction that felt very much like a conclusion. Last Jedi ended, and I was like, there's no big bad anymore. Like, Kylo is a bad guy, but we can tell we're sort of rooting for him on some level to save his soul. So we need to have like another bad guy. Snoke is gone now. And it felt like maybe Colin Trevorrow had a hard time taking both of those stories and being like, how do I cap this off at all? Like, those are two very different movies.
Yeah, I feel like...
How do I make this cohesive?
If you're going off of The Last Jedi, Ren is the big bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only real way you can go with it. And it is more the matter of, there is a chance he can be redeemed too.
Yeah.
But
there has to be a threat that he needs to come back, be redeemed, to help with the threat. And when you don't set up the threat in the second chapter, the third chapter needs to rush it. And that's what I think they were in. I think if J.J. Abrams was doing Last Jedi, or if he oversaw the treatment for Last Jedi and the director or writer followed it, Palpatine would have been revealed at the end of The Last Jedi. And it would not have felt like a rush job at this one. Because if you kill Snoke, you still need a reason for him to come back to the light side other than just, I fell in love with this girl. There has to be a bigger bad for it to feel like a Star Wars movie.
Well, we see in this movie that it isn't just, I fell in love with this girl.
No.
Like, it is him wrestling with a lot of his own angst.
Yeah.
And I do think it is actually really cool that we have this flip between not just Rey and Kylo, but with, like, all of our core trio of, like, where you come from doesn't necessarily matter, because with Ren, it is, you are... Han and
Skywalker
Leia's
in a Solo,
kid.
yeah.
And with Rey, it's you are Palpatine's like kid,
offspring, yeah.
Like that's really where it wrestles from, and I feel like you can mine that conflict. Absolutely, you can. Again, yeah. If I could now play Monday Morning Quarterback, I would have definitely liked to have set up Palpatine in 8.
Exactly. And I think JJ would have.
I also would have liked Leia's saber to be in 8 too. I feel like that would have been a bomb-ass moment. Instead of the blown out of the sky and then she floats back, which now on rewatch, it's like, okay, yeah, that doesn't really quite work for me.
It's more the visual of that, though. Mm-hmm. We don't have to talk about The Last Jedi a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, if I'm playing Monday Morning Quarterback, I would have liked to have gotten more of her force sensitivity in Ren coming up to face her, like full on doors, this is the end. Like, I'm going to kill you, mother. Mm-hmm. And then Leia whipping out a lightsaber and going, the fuck you will. Yeah. And then they fight. I think that would have been rad.
Oh, of course. There's a lot of stuff you could have done.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, I'm sorry, JJ, but fucking Carrie Fisher passed away. It sucks, but that's kind of what you potentially set yourself up for if you're concluding a trilogy that started 42 fucking years ago.
Sure.
Like, that is just a concern that you have to have. 2, I'm fine with them bringing back Palpatine, but this is half-assed. Like, you're introducing him in the opening crawl, and you can build that up so much more effectively.
I personally think, he would have done it in Last Jedi, but no crying over spilt milk.
Yeah.
I think there is a version of this movie where you could have kept it vague in the opening crawl.
Yeah.
The dead speak. A mysterious Sith Lord has been heard throughout the galaxy, and our heroes are investigating it. And also Kylo Ren is investigating it. Whatever, how it's exactly written. That's a threat to his power. So he's trying to hunt it down. And once he gets there, then he realizes it's Palpatine. I don't see a reason why it had to be in the crawl. You could have played it almost exactly as it was and have Kylo Ren realizing it's Palpatine be the revelation that, this isn't just a random Sith Lord, this is Palpatine. And then when the Resistance finds out, they can be like, the voice we were all hearing is the Emperor. And then we get that reaction.
Yep.
Nothing needed to be added. All those scenes are still there. You just needed to not have it in the opening crawl and have them... It may have felt just as rushed, but the opening crawl wouldn't have felt as jarring.
You know what I think would have been really great, especially with Palpatine and like how to play him and all that sort of stuff? So we'll just say Rey is the most powerful character this saga has ever seen.
Absolutely.
And she can electrocute, she can force heal, like she can do it all.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Like, I'm fine with her being super powerful.
Yeah, I always was fine with that. I never had a problem with that.
okay, so now I know physically she can take on whatever. Like, when she's facing Palpatine, now she's going to be Palpatine. Like, that's not a question. Did you see her blow up a ship with lightning?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she can do it. That's fine. I have to buy, then, her internal conflict, which is, will I flip to the dark side?
Like her speaking very candidly about, I'm going to go kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And Finn said, that doesn't sound like you.
Yeah.
That was really interesting to me.
It is really interesting.
Because of course she could kill him. And when she gets there, he even says that. I'm like,
do it, buddy.
want you to. This isn't a question of how powerful are you. Could you beat me?
He just
fucking course
flips
you could.
over one of those obelisks, and it's a huge whiteboard that just leads to a half-ass, like a stick figure drawing of her stabbing him, and he's just kind of like,
He just points to it over and over again. I drew
pretty
a diagram.
Smart, right?
I think that was a really smart way to go with it. Of course she could kill him.
Yeah, but
does she want to, though?
And it's not just like, does she want to? It's also, I have to buy that she could potentially flip, not just on Palpatine and do something that's kind of dark, because, man, let's face it, like, Jedi kill a lot of motherfuckers, and, like, throughout the series.
Of course.
That in of itself isn't necessarily it, Chief.
Yeah.
I have to buy that she will flip to the Last Order. Like, I have to buy that that is a real possibility. Then the implication behind this is now, oh, holy shit. Now that person who can force stop an entire ship and blow it up with her hand is now on the evil side. Mm-hmm. And I have to buy that as a very real possibility for her.
And did you?
And no.
Okay.
I didn't personally.
I did. I think when he showed her her fleet getting destroyed.
Yeah.
And she was like, because it's the same pitch he made to Anakin. Like, I know you don't want to flip to the dark side, but I'm telling you, Padme will die if you don't.
And that's the thing, is there is such a stronger reason for Anakin to flip.
But it's the same reason. He's like, all your friends are gonna die, but you can end it right this second by striking me down, taking control, and saying, stop the fighting. And that is attractive to her, because she would strike him down in goodness and stop the fighting in goodness, in good faith. But the fact that she struck him down is giving him what he wants. And, like, that is where the struggle lied. And the fact that she was going to agree, because he also made this point of, you don't have anyone else here. What are you going to do? And then once she sensed Ben Solo arrive, then she felt the strength to say no again. I really liked that moment. So.
And, like, I can kind of see what you're getting at, which is, you know, she
more of
stops him.
It's more of a stretch than the Anakin thing.
She stops the fighting, and it's like, now you control the power of Palpatine. Yeah. And it's kind of what The Last Jedi brings up, which it's like, we can rule, but be good. We can be good fascists.
And Anakin does it to Padme at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Definitely.
We can overthrow Palpatine.
Yeah.
Like, we can rule together. And it's like, that's not the point. It's
right,
like,
right. And I understand that track. I think I need that specifically built up a little bit more, especially with Rey, because right now I haven't seen anything that says she wouldn't just ice Palpatine and then be like, all right, cool, I guess we'll all go home, and like that just sort of be the end of it.
It's an interesting question, and maybe it's one that she was having a hard time coming up with the answer right on the spot, which is why she was going to kill Palpatine. She was going to do it because she was like, oh yeah, also, I can save all these people, and I will be like, well, by the way, there's no more empire. We're going to go back to like a republic, a democracy. You know, so that's what she was going to do.
Yeah.
But once she felt Ben Solo show up, I think she's like, you know what? No, there's a better way where I don't strike this guy down in hate. Sure. And we can still end it all. And that's why I liked the back and forth with that.
I liked the thematics of she's effectively just shooting him with his own bullshit. Like, that's how she defeats him.
And the visual of it is pretty wicked.
Oh, yeah.
I liked it a lot.
It's not quite Nazi face melting Indiana Jones, but it's pretty goddamn close.
It's inspired by it, for sure.
Yes.
It's really well done. Okay, we should probably move on to your next thing.
We can keep going. I just didn't think that our core three really liked each other all that much. They bicker pretty much nonstop.
Specifically, you're talking about Poe and Rey, probably.
Poe and Rey, and honestly, to a degree, it's like even like Finn and Poe will kind of like bicker with each other throughout like the beginning of the movie. And yeah, you have like Finn kind of being there to be like they're there to Rey when she perceivably kills Chewie.
Yeah.
Even then, I'm like, I feel like what the fuck is up with the lightning would have been something that is necessary. But even for me, one of the only jokes that like really landed for me was when Rey, she mind tricks the stormtroopers, and Poe looks over at Finn and is like, has she ever done that to us? Thought that was pretty funny.
That was good, yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's still paranoid. It's just kind of like, oh, I don't like completely trust that you haven't done this to me. And I feel like that perfectly sums up their fucking, like, this trio.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like, they like snipe at each other and undermine each other. I know it eventually gets to them liking each other, but like to the degree in which they do it, I was just not having fun watching the three of them together.
Oh, wow.
To the point where I was like,
that's a bummer for you.
And it was a total bummer for me, man, because like that was a thing about The Last Jedi. I'm like, I kind of wish I saw these three together
more, yeah.
And then I saw them together and was like, well, fuck, if that's the case, separate them. Like, this is...
Go in your separate corners,
yeah,
you guys.
Exactly. This is kind of hard to watch.
Yeah. I liked their banter. It was very bickery, but, I mean, that's kind of a dynamic that has always been a Star Wars thing. Like, Obi-Wan and Anakin always bicker. Han and Leia always
but you can
bicker.
Tell there's love in there. You know what I mean?
But I could tell there was love in there for this one.
I can tell there's love between Finn and Rey, but
sure, yeah, I can see how you can feel that way. I can, but I didn't. So.
Well, especially for me, I think where like it started to kind of get irritating for me was the C-3PO scene, because they are completely cool with what amounts to is killing this droid. I've seen 3PO through the entirety of that original trilogy.
Yeah.
I have a connection to that character. He's a robot, sure, but I have a connection
I don't
to
think
him.
I think where you're going is these three don't have as much of a connection to 3PO
as
we do.
Give a shit. Like, he's like, I'm taking one last look at my friends, and their response amounts to yada yada yada, less talking, more memory wielding, and it's fucking frustrating.
I think Poe was more that. I think Finn and Rey were really soaking up that moment. But if you notice, when C-3PO says that, Poe isn't in the shot. It's Rey and Finn.
Yeah.
And I think Poe is the type of character who's like, no, we have a mission to do, and this is the only way to do it. Let's go. And I think that fits his character. It's frustrating, but at least Finn and Rey, I think, soaked in that moment of, this is sad. This is sad for us. Yeah.
And as long as we're getting into like that sequence on that planet, I think something that was frustrating for me too was, to a degree, it kind of mistook backstory as character development. I think Kerry Russell's character is more superfluous than Benicio del Toro's character in The Last Jedi.
Sure.
Because at least fucking Benicio del Toro affects the story in some way. He sells them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, with like Kerry Russell, it was more or less to just provide flavor for Poe. And initially I was like, I don't give a flying fuck if this dude was an ex-Spice runner. We're too far beyond that. I now understand, having had some thought, they're giving him the same sort of background as Finn and Rey, where it's like they both came from like bad stuff. Like Finn was a stormtrooper. Rey is a Palpatine. They wanted to give him like a nefarious past, but kind of show it's not about your past, it's about like what you are doing now.
Yeah.
Which I think is really good. But that said, I felt like the entire scene on the rooftop and like their first interaction with Kerry Russell's character, to me that played like the elevator scene in Attack of the Clones where Obi-Wan is ribbing Anakin and is like, remember what happened on this planet and I kind of saved you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have no connection to that because I have not seen it.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like with Kerry Russell's
And that's
character.
fair. I think that's 100% how it plays. I think it's a little bit more entertaining because at least they do some fighting. There was Rey kicking the ass and a scuffle. Yeah. So at least it's not just them standing there being like, remember that time? Okay, I'll help you now. You know, like it wasn't so much that, but it was that on subtext level. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Agree.
Okay. I'm sorry I have so many of these.
No, that's okay. It's all right.
This one's more of like I don't think I would have went there, but the fact that...
I have things like that too. So.
The fact that the Force heal is...
a thing?
Is
at
a
all?
thing at all.
Okay.
Like, the fact that Kylo Ren can do it, too, is also kind of like...
Well, what he was
really
doing
strange.
was different. No, it wasn't. It was this. It amounted to being the same thing, but healing a wound was something Rey was able to do by transferring a little bit of her life force to something, to an area, and whatever, and healing it. Kylo Ren, since there was no wound, he was just giving all of his life force to save her and bring her back from the dead. And I think that was different enough from what Rey was doing to be emotional for me at the end.
Yeah.
I like the force healing. It's something that has never been visualized, but it's something that just makes sense to me. It just feels like something that everyone that's a Jedi Master should have been able to do.
That's why you paused that scene when we were watching Revenge, where it's like, yeah, watch the scene. And, like, that is Palpatine being like, force healing might be a thing. Maybe we could save
And when Palpatine sucks their life force at the end of the movie and his hands grow back, you could see it in his face. He's like, oh, this is the thing I lied to Anakin that I knew how to do. And it's between them. It's their dyad in the Force. It's their bond.
Yeah.
That is like, this hasn't been seen in generations.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to suck it all from
and now
you.
I'm taking it from you.
Yeah. And so I liked, it could have been a little cheesy and back and forth for viewers, but I loved all the swapping of life forcing.
Oh yeah, no, I cannot wait for that.
It was silly, but I loved it.
I can't wait for that 5-minute YouTube loop where it's just Kylo Ren resurrecting Rey, and then Rey resurrects Kylo Ren, and they just go back and forth.
Yeah, and friend of the shows, Joe Chattel and Michelle Chattel, who do their own stuff.
Happy Place Explorers,
Happy
baby.
Place Explorers, shameless plug. They said, they needed Kylo to disappear, otherwise that would have been going on all day.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, that's a really good point.
Yeah, but I do think once you introduce force healing into this world, it does kind of open the door where you would just want to line up every injured person in front of Rey and be like, all right, man, get cracked. Well, uncracking. Get uncracking.
Uncracking, yeah. What is absolutely amazing to me is the thematic of a Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, sells himself to the devil, Palpatine, to be able to learn the power to save someone from death. And they failed. Palpatine lied. He was a liar. He was never intending to teach Anakin that power.
Right.
And at the end of the day, when all was said and done in this trilogy, a Skywalker learns that power to save the one he loved from death. A Palpatine, no less. And I thought that was just so poetic and amazing, that a thing that Anakin was obsessed with learning how to do enough to turn to the dark side, a Skywalker that turned to the dark side and then came back from the dark side, ended up learning that power and succeeding with it, was so emotional for me. So I liked that a lot.
Sure. It does, I think, in some ways cheapen the stakes a little bit, because if you can just heal someone... There isn't as much finality.
I think that's a fair point. I think, and again, people will be like, well, that wasn't explained in the movie, James. I like to think that what Ben Solo was able to accomplish there has never been done before, and even Rey might not even have that power to bring someone back from the dead.
Sure.
We've never seen her do it, therefore I don't know she can do it. The fact that it's so rare and this one Skywalker was able to do it, I think brought some emotional weight to it.
You know what's interesting? When we were watching the prequel trilogy together, you would keep pausing and bringing up, because you've read the books.
I read the novelizations.
Yeah, you read the novelizations, and I guess those novelizations are like off the chain because they provide a lot of context.
Revenge of the Sith especially is
and
very well written.
I just want to say to whoever that author is who's writing the novelization of this, whatever they're paying you, it's not enough, because you
got a lot
have
to fill in here.
so much shit to fill in.
Yeah, I could see them struggling with that opening crawl, how to open a novel with that, because there's no opening crawl really for the novelizations. It's just like, here's scene 1.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are you gonna do that? Author of Rise of Skywalker.
Godspeed. Just because we've been talking about the things I don't like for a while.
Yeah, should we talk?
The last one.
Okay, yep. What do you got?
They had no idea what to do with Finn. And bear in mind, 8 didn't know what to do with Finn either. But they did not know what to do with Finn.
You meant Rian Johnson didn't know what to do with Finn either?
Yeah.
No, I think that's a fair point, and he serves as a conduit or a guide for new characters to come on board.
Basically,
he was that in The Last Jedi with Rose to bring her into the fold of the main characters, and he's that with Jaina, the other stormtrooper. I like the stuff he gets to do, but when it comes to narrative weight, you're right. There's not much there for him, and that is a bummer. But at least that means when all three of them are together, it feels like a group, and he's part of it. But when it comes to them, they do split. At the Death Star.
They do.
And at that point, Finn doesn't have much to do for the rest of the movie. He leads the ground assault, and that's all well and good, but that was going down anyway. Yeah. We all knew it.
Does he, and I'll ask just because you've seen it 3 times, does he have a character arc? I didn't really spy on him that much.
Nothing that jumps out to me right now.
Yeah.
I can let you know after I watch it my 4th time.
Please do.
Tomorrow. I'll keep an eye out for that one. I don't think so off the top of my head, and if he does, it's not very prominent.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right.
Should we talk about good things now?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let's see. I already covered that the fight at Noah's Ark is pretty rad.
So good, right?
I was surprised by how much I liked the Han Solo scene.
It is.
When he first came back, I was like, oh, hi there. What? I guess you're here now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see where this goes.
You're not a Jedi, so this isn't
just a memory.
This isn't a Force Ghost thing.
Yeah.
I loved the fact that they were like you're just a memory, and Kyle is trying to explain it away. He still doesn't want to go to the light side yet, even though you can tell he wants to. He's giving excuses.
But it's hard for him.
Yeah, he's giving excuses for himself not to, and he's like, "You're just a memory," and Han is like, "Yeah." But I'm your memory. You're doing this for a reason.
Dude, I really loved that subtle... Because there's a point where you can tell Kylo Ren wants to say, I love you, Dad.
I'm sorry.
Or
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And Han just cuts him off and says, I know. Oh,
so
fucking rules.
I cried.
I went with I love you because that's what he replies to with
Leia. Yeah. And I think what Ben was gonna say was both.
Yeah.
It definitely was both.
Yeah.
So I cried the opening night for that moment. It's one of the best moments in the movie.
Yeah.
I was blown away that they got Harrison Ford back. I never thought in a million years he would have come back, even for one scene. And I was endlessly grateful and happy that he did, because it's one of the best scenes in the movie. Watching it the second and third time, not only did I cry there, but it is an emotional downslope from when Leia dies, because you know what's coming next. Mm-hmm. The first night, I didn't cry when Leia distracted Ben and died, because I was just in the moment of the lightsaber fight, and then Rey stabs him in the stomach. So there was no tears. It was just, I was in the moment.
Yeah. And
then she saves him. You can tell in his eyes, that's it. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I'm done with this dark side bullshit.
Yeah, the fact that she still had that compassion for him.
And his mom still did.
Yeah, and it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
it's so good.
How do these people keep forgiving me? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And maybe I should just lean into it now. So now knowing that scene is leading into the Harrison Ford scene immediately, I had waterworks during the Leia scene. And she died, and R2 was sad, and she was with her in the end. And then the Harrison Ford scene happens, and I'm just crying throughout the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then he throws the lightsaber, and I'm just cheering.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's
so good.
Dude,
and then for me,
so well.
And then for me, the rest of the movie is perfect for me. So all my nitpicks and struggles were with things that were before before Endor system.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I do like that last sequence. I think it would have been nice if Kylo Ren had any lines after he turned good. But I think
that's something that I've seen it 3 times and I'm now just realizing. Did he really say nothing?
He may have had a line, but he doesn't speak a lot. If at all.
I don't think so.
Nah.
He never even utters the word Rey or anything, I don't think. I'll let you know. Again,
okay.
I'll look out for Finn's arc and Ben Solo's lines.
Thank you for this intrepid reporting.
Yeah.
But no, I do. I like that. I like that last fight. I like the fact that they can pass the lightsaber back and forth like it's
What
a
a
note in a
setup.
classroom.
And that's set up in The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. They have the Force connection throughout all The Last Jedi. She's in the rain.
Yeah.
And he, when their connection breaks, he like has rain in his hand. Mm-hmm. It's set up already in The Last Jedi, and that's something that JJ saw that in The Last Jedi and was like, thank you. Awesome. I'm running with this. This is great. And then they came up with that passing the lightsaber scene. I mean, they set it up even more so in Rise of Skywalker with grabbing the necklace.
Yes.
And then their lightsaber fight between when they weren't even in the same room. Very visually interesting. Not as good, obviously, as the Death Star fight, but very visually in just like understanding how this is even working through the Force is mesmerizing. I don't have all the answers, but that's okay to me. And then it all leads to her passing the lightsaber and him acting like a frickin' Solo. No, he does have a line. The second he arrives to Exegol, which is the Sith planet, he jumps onto a giant chain, catches it, and he says, ouch. He says, ow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So maybe that's his only line as Ben Solo. But that's such a Han Solo, like,
that's a very Han Solo
reaction to things.
I thought his kind of like
shrug when he had the lightsaber.
Shrug when he had the lightsaber. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. His mannerisms and his physical acting felt very much like, man, this is a breath of fresh air just acting in the light. And you could see it in his face. He was just relieved, but taking the blows as they were coming to him and enjoying it, though. Ugh. And the fact that we got him in a t-shirt, a different freaking wardrobe than we've seen him for 3 movies, he got to wear something different, added so... Yes, he was all in black still, but that added a visual aspect to me being like, that's Ben Solo now. Not Kylo Ren. Even when Rey's calling him Ben in The Last Jedi, I'm like, no, that's Kylo Ren. It wasn't until he threw that lightsaber away and he shed the cloak and the cape that I'm like, that's Ben Solo. That's the first time I'm seeing Ben Solo this whole time. And I loved every second of it. So,
yeah.
All right, what's your next thing?
Let's see. I just had written down Leia has a lightsaber. Hell yeah, that's the juice.
It is the juice.
Isn't it?
What'd you think of that scene of her and Luke flashback training?
I actually thought that was pretty cool.
Not too shabby, right?
Yeah.
I loved that they were in blinding masks because you can get away with a lot of not doing the VFX for those moments, but still it works in canon, training like that. And then we do get to see a young Luke and a young Leia. A young Leia holding a lightsaber was something that I never knew I wanted and needed, but I loved it. In the visual effect of her face wasn't super, like it was still very glossy. In terms of, you know,
it was.
But I didn't care. I don't care. I cared more in Rogue One. Rogue One, I was like, this feels off. This one felt, I don't care. This is great.
It kind of like adds to like the flashback quality of it. Like it's very glossy.
Oh, that's a great point.
So yeah, like no, I'm fine with that overall. Using likeness, not like terribly upset about that.
Yeah.
Using an artist to forward your dumbass MacGuffin heavy plot, I am upset about, but no, I'm okay with that. No, I love the fact that she has a lightsaber. That's the sort of.
I want to interject one more time. A lot of it, especially if you watch it one time, feels like her just advancing the MacGuffin stuff. When you watch it again a few more times, her lines do reinforce the Rey, be who you are.
It is.
It does. It's seldom. But it's there, and it's there in those same scenes that you dislike.
That's actually something that I'm going to be bringing up in a little bit. It is in the stuff I like segment.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
And that is like right at the very end. I don't necessarily know how Rey knows where like Luke's home on Tatooine is, but like whatever, fuck it, don't care. It's like I love the idea of taking their lightsabers, burying them together. And having that just be like, you know, this is where we started, here's where we're going to end.
And that's the moment she takes on the name, too, was really moving for me.
Initially, I was like, not feeling her taking the name. Because initially, my thought was like, oh, the one thing we had Carrie Fisher do that wasn't just like asking one-word questions and like giving one-sentence nondescript answers, was her looking at Rey and saying, "Be who you are."
Yeah.
Like, just be you.
Which we know she's meaning, like, I know you're a Palpatine.
I know you're a fucking Palpatine, buddy.
But own it. Like,
yeah,
and
and
be
okay.
different.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Just be yourself.
I've seen
you not be
I've
evil.
seen your heart, and it is pure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so when she takes on the Skywalker name, I'm like, oh, that kind of feels like it's missing. But in having thought about it more, no, like you're right. And it harkens
making
into
that choice.
She's making that choice, and it is hearkening to Luke saying, your literal bloodline isn't as important as the family you actively choose.
And that's a message that I love in any movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of movies do that message of the family you choose is more important than the family you're born with. And that's a message that means a lot to me. Anyway.
Also, on a pure practical level, if she said, "I'm Rey Palpatine," that is that universe's equivalent to "I'm Rey Hitler." And at that point, you may want to go with "I'm Rey Roosevelt." Yeah. So,
Roosevelt.
practically
Okay, yeah.
and from a thematic standpoint, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit to think about it, but once I did, I'm like, no, I think that moment works.
Yeah, going off of the Tatooine thing, just real quick, every trilogy other than this one, we have been on Tatooine for something. And it was something important. Finding Anakin Skywalker, finding Luke Skywalker, and now finding Rey Skywalker.
Yeah.
In that order, I think I was scared that we would go this entire new trilogy and not visit Tatooine. And I had my hopes that it was going to happen in Rise of Skywalker. And when it didn't, in like the first half, I was like, it's just not going to happen. And that's okay. I'm okay with it. The second we flew over the Sandcrawler with the Jawas, I just like froze. And I was frozen and I was so happy. I didn't even care where that scene went. Just the fact that we cap off this thing where everything started with the Skywalkers on Tatooine, I was very, very moved and happy with it, and I wouldn't have ended it any other way.
The only note I have about the end is Chewie finally got a goddamn medal. My only note is he deserves 8 more of them.
Look, Han and Luke are both dead, so he can go get 2 more, right? Although maybe the one Leia was
because
holding...
Rey's just gonna fucking bury him too.
I think maybe Leia, the one she was holding, may have been Han's, because Leia didn't get one. She awarded them to Luke and Han. So I think that was Han's. And I think we could have done with a line from Maz when she gave it to Chewie. I think a line was necessary for her to say, Leia wanted you to have this.
Yeah.
Not just, I have something for you. Because then the line is, I have something for you. And she gives him the medal. And I'm just like, did you just steal that off of Leia's corpse and re-gift it to Chewbacca? Look, I'm glad he got a medal, but that is not the way to do it. And so I don't
know how Wookiee senses of smells are, but he's going to be able to smell if you pry that off of Leia's corpse, man. It's going to be... Ugh.
And I think it would have been a very simple and easy change to just be like, Leia wanted you to have this.
Yeah.
And it means more, too. Yeah. When Chewbacca fell to his knees when he found out Leia died, I lost my mind.
When Poe tries to comfort him and he fucking brushes him
away.
Yeah.
I cried there. I cried a lot in this movie.
Because with Chewbacca, he is the last one now. The last physical being.
I cried a lot in this movie. I got goosebumps a lot when Rey was rising to all these ghosts of Jedi past telling her, rise, 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 rise and take your last steps to where you need to be. Was so moving and gave me goosebumps. And then
finally, Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, right. I loved it. Qui-Gon Jinn was back. Yeah, Liam Neeson.
Fucking Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, dude, tons. Freddie Prinze Jr. was there, Kevin. Just Freddie Prinze Jr. though, not a character. Just like, hey, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Hey, it's me, Freddie Prinze Jr.
From She's All That. So I got a lot of goosebumps. I had a lot of tears, and I saw it 3 times now, and I've cried. Everyone, I got emotional at everyone. I laughed at every single one. I think with all of these, the humor goes down a little bit the more you watch them. I think that's the same with the original trilogy too. Sure. There's certain things in there where I laughed a lot as a kid, and now I'm just like, that doesn't make me laugh out loud anymore. But that's okay.
It's golf clap humor now.
Yeah, it's golf clap humor. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, next thing.
That was all my things.
Oh, I thought you had more things you liked, Kevin, but those were general things.
Those were general. They're general things. And bear in mind, like, we're kind of like, when I say, like the sequence with Noah's Ark and then, like, going and meeting, Han Solo and Luke, like, that's a pretty significant chunk of the movie.
Yeah.
That, like, and I spent that entire time being like, yeah, all right. I didn't even care that, like, the Luke, a lightsaber deserves to be respected. Like, I didn't even care that they were like, we're clearly flipping the bird to the Last Jedi. I'm like, this is petty and stupid, but you know what? I don't care right now.
See, I didn't feel that way. I felt like he was saying that line, like, knowing that he also didn't.
Yeah,
like, he was saying, like, yeah, I know what you're doing because you saw me do it. I'm telling you I was wrong. And, like, that was Rian Johnson's point, too.
Yeah.
Like, by the end of The Last Jedi, we all knew Luke was wrong to throw the lightsaber over his shoulder. So, the line, he was being kind of a smartass about it.
Okay.
Like,
that's an interesting
you gotta
interpretation.
treat this lightsaber with a bit more respect. A wink. I know I didn't.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
And I was wrong. And he says that later, too. Fist-pumping moments. Raising the X-Wing. Really awesome for someone who watches these movies a billion times. He never passed that test on Dagobah when Yoda asked him to raise that exact X-Wing from the water. He finally did it now. I loved that. So, for anyone that was interested in my theory of where I thought this was going to go, because I did say it multiple times, it did not go the way I thought it would.
Interesting.
I did not guess she was going to be a Palpatine granddaughter, because I thought it would be weird that the literal devil incarnate in this galaxy would have offsprings, but I guess there's biblical.
This does mean that Palpatine fucked.
Yeah,
we all have to accept that as canon.
And then so it opens up a lot of questions of like, who did he
engage
with? And was it love, or was he manipulating her, or like, what are the answers here? When did that son decide to be like, dude, you're evil, I'm leaving? That's
got to be the big bad in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, right.
Whoever Palpatine's wife was.
So my prediction was Rey was going to be a genetic clone of Palpatine. And and I still, after watching this movie 3 times, I still think a genetic clone is cleaner.
It is.
I have a feeling they probably have thought about it and went, you know what? We're a business. Let's open up a door for a different story we can tell later about these Palpatines. The son of Palpatine and his and how he falls in love and like steps away and says, "You're evil. I'm bouncing. I'm not going to be the heir to your evil empire."
Will 100% watch that Disney Plus sitcom
series.
Palpatines.
Yeah, the Palpatines. So I think that's why they went the direction of like legitimate offsprings, is because they want to be able to tell those stories later. And a clone it shuts the door a little bit on those stories.
It's just,
like, you can still have those people that rescued that one clone from Palpatine and carried her away to Jakku. So, like, my theory was, like, the Dark Ray that we saw was another Palpatine clone, and he has a lot of them. I thought he was going to have, like, a bunch of sleeper cell clones that Rey has to fight her way through to get to actually old Palpatine. So when it turned out to be just a Force vision, kind of like Luke in the tree in Dagobah, I was like, okay, most people predicted that's the way it was going to go. I was hoping for clones. That's okay, though. I'm all right with it. So I'm happy with the granddaughter stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Ian McDiarmid?
Ian McDiarmid, I think.
Starring Ian McDiarmid as Emperor Palpatine.
Sheev. His first name is Sheev.
As Sheev.
If this is
just like his scraggly ass, like walking in a door and waving at camera, and then like at the end, it's like, and Freddie Prinze Jr. as Freddie Prinze Jr.
As Sheev Jr. So
he's just Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, that's Freddie Prinze Jr.
He's the neighbor.
He's the neighbor.
Absolutely, he is.
You guys doing some evil stuff in here again. Okay.
Freddie.
Yeah, he's got like Urkel glasses on. That'd be pretty good. I don't have much more to say. I'm sure there's thousands of things. I like, this is something I'm excited to talk with people about. Mm-hmm. I will be excited.
Thank you for indulging, because like you did offer a lot of like perspective on some of the things that I didn't like. And some of the things that I didn't like, you were like, yeah, no, that was kind of rough.
Of course,
going.
and there's always going to be stuff. There's stuff in every Star Wars movie that I'm like, that doesn't really work anymore, or never did. I don't know. But it doesn't matter to me because I just accept it as that's the story.
This is the story.
Love
This
or
is the
hate
story
it,
I
I don't
love.
know what to tell you. That's the story.
Yeah.
Accept it or bitch about it all you want. Like, not you specifically,
Right,
Kevin, but
right. Yeah.
people that get very angry about these things. Like the people that got really angry about The Last Jedi. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's canon now. Get on board or just shut the fuck up. That's what I have to say about people with these Star Wars movies. You can dislike things in it. Of course you can.
Yeah.
But
Midichlorians.
But don't be a dick about it. Is all I'm saying.
Totally.
Be like Rey. Choose not to be a dick.
There you go.
Yeah. So I guess we should do our normal
I'm so
review.
fucking spent. Yeah, we should actually like review. Okay, so the rating scale for our
Trailer
trailer and
Hitch.
rear view
Yeah.
segments is should see again, glad I saw it, should have waited, shouldn't have seen it.
Okay. Yep. And can I go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for
Should
it.
see it a fourth time.
I was about to say.
I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, like the ghost is kind of given
Yeah,
up once you say I've seen it 3 times.
So tippy top review for me. Should see it again.
Cool. I'm at a should have waited.
Should have waited. Okay.
Yep, that's where I'm at right
I
now.
am relieved that it wasn't lower. So that's all I could say.
Yeah, especially after some time to think about it. And honestly, man, after talking to you about it, like you've been a great person to talk to about this.
I try to strive for that because I know a lot of people try and shy away from having Star Wars conversations with people who disagree with them. I don't want that to be the case. I want this to be a fun environment for people to talk to me about Star Wars openly. I am very kind and not a dick when it comes to talking about Star Wars.
You're very Ray about this whole thing.
Thank you. I try to be. I strive to be that. And if anyone ever wants to talk to me about Star Wars, my door is always open. You can always bend my ear about it. And I will treat you with respect because that's what I do.
Yeah, that's great. And if you wanted to bend his ear about it, you're more than welcome to hit us up. You can do so on our email, trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Facebook. Otherwise, you can hit us up on Twitter if you want to keep that missive to 280 characters at TrailerHitchPod. You can find us on Instagram at TrailerHitchPodcast. Otherwise, if you just want to comment on YouTube, you can do that too. If you search Trailer Hitch Podcast, and hey, while you're there, subscribe to us there. Like our stuff.
It'll be easier for you to see more stuff.
Exactly.
Which is what we want. We want you to be suckered into listening to us more.
But if you're like, this all sounds far too active, I just want to relax, that's okay. You can just listen to us on Stitcher. You can find our entire catalog there. Otherwise, you can listen to us on iTunes as well, or Apple Music, whatever they're calling it these days. And that sounds pretty laid back, but while you're there, if you just want to go ahead and click that subscribe button, that's great. But if now you're starting to feel a little bit energized, you've had some time to sit, think about your thoughts, analyze our thoughts on what we thought of Rise of Skywalker, you may as well go ahead and rate us and give us a review on iTunes and Apple Music as well. Otherwise, we would like to thank Danny Schmitz from Lost in a Name for the amazing intro song that you hear at the top of every episode. We would like to thank Rachel Ashley for the beautiful cover art that you see on our various social medias.
That's right.
You can find her work at Mighty Creations on Instagram. We would like to thank Jenny Hawks, our Bad Movie and social media correspondent. And we would like to thank Casey Clowers for the amazing outro song, which you will hear momentarily.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Trailer Hitch.
It's basically just mean that I want to do a quick vocal
A test. Oh, no, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course. Yes.
That's how we talk. I'm glad we got that figured out. I'll do that closer to you.
Yeah, that's how we were going to review this. All right. To make this special, we were reviewing episode 9 as 2 mangy dogs. And it's just Jenny leaning in. What did you guys think of Leia?
I didn't get a harumph out of that guy. Harumph.